Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it so very much. And listen, we always want to get updates from the people who are making things happen. One of those people always knowing what's happening, certainly in his area and around the state, Mr. Archie Chaisson, Lafourche Parish President. Archie, welcome back to the program, my friend.
Hey, Keith, good to see you again.
Thanks so much, man. Listen, we are out and about. I am so fortunate that I get to go down to Lafourche once a week to kind of see things. I can physically see some of the physical changes and some of the improvements. Tell us how we're doing with a recovery standpoint from Lafourche Parish.
You know, Keith, we've said it from the beginning, and I'll continue to say it, I guess, in 5 years from now when we're done with this. But, you know, we're taking baby steps every day, and we're getting there. I think those physical improvements that you see, you know, a lot of those blue roofs are starting to come off, new asphalt shingle roofs, new metal roofs going on. We've made a pretty good dent in the debris program. You know, we gave our debris contractors off over the Thanksgiving holidays, which did a couple of things. It let those guys go home and get some R&R. They worked for some 80 days straight without a real break. But it'll let, you know, people who are finally catching up, insurance adjusters who finally made it to their homes, who finally were able to gut things, finally were able to knock things down that had to come down, unfortunately, and get all that stuff to the road. So our guys are making their kind of third and final pass for all the areas of Lafourche north of the intercoastal, includes the town of Lockport. I think the city of Thibodeau wrapped up their debris program before Thanksgiving. They had gotten all their stuff off the road. So all those unincorporated areas, you know, north of the intercoastal, we're working through that third and final pass. We think that'll be done in the next couple of 3 weeks, and then we're gonna surge on South Lafourche. We're gonna kind of wrap that up. We ought to have the bulk of it off the ground by Christmas. I'm hoping to have that done, and then we'll move to the other things. You know, private property debris removal. If you unfortunately did not have insurance, your house or your shed or something like that has to be demolished. You can visit our Matthews Government Complex or the Golden Meadow Town Hall and sign up for that private property debris removal, and actually have our contractor go in there, knock down the structure, and haul it away for you. So you're not having to pile it up by the road or otherwise having to hire somebody and out of pocket that cost. That's a FEMA program that they rolled out after Lauren Delta last year that they finally approved us for. So we're working on that, as well as some extended right-of-way stuff. You know, we're finally trying to get to those private trailer parks, things like that we have not really concentrated on because we were trying to get the residential streets cleared, the bulk of the debris off the ground. So we're turning to that sort of stuff. Housing is still a struggle. I yell at FEMA once a week, and we have a weekly conference call with them on Wednesday mornings, and it's just been really sluggish. You know, we've asked for about 3,000 units. We only have about 250 on the ground that have been licensed in between the state's camper program and the actual FEMA units. The state's camper program moves a lot faster. It's very easy to hook those camper units into the house's power grid. If the house or the structure, whatever was on your property, can take power, and then they run a garden hose for your water and your sewer. The FEMA program takes a little bit longer because they're actually setting temporary power poles. These FEMA units are more like HUD mobile homes versus the traditional what people think of as a FEMA camper trailer after we saw a lot of after Katrina. So we only have about 50 of those on the ground that are licensed in. We have about 150 that are here. It's just taking so long to get those things powered up, set right, blocked up. In some cases, we're having to build handicap accessible ramps and porches and stuff like that. So those take a little bit longer versus those camper trailers from the state. But it's just been a very slow process, and something that can still, out of everything post-storm, continues to frustrate me the most is the lack of that housing and the ability to put our residents in something that is better than a house that's gutted or a house that's no longer there, or their car, their tent, whatever they're still living in. And the fact that we're 100 days, plus post-storm, that still continues to happen is just still completely unacceptable. And trying to get FEMA to understand that, trying to get our federal partners to understand that has been really tough.
Yeah, well, we're so very fortunate that you're fighting that battle and really, yelling every Wednesday at the people that need to understand. And quite frankly, the people that have come down to help, they get it. I mean, they see it, but those aren't the people that can make the decision to get through the red tape to kind of make things happen for that.
Yeah, and we've said that over and over, and it's been 3 or 4 weeks now. The FEMA administrator was here and met with President Dove and I at his place in Terrebonne, and that was our point, was that she came down for a 2-day visit, spent 2 nights at the Hilton in New Orleans, did some good PR stuff, showed her face, but she went back to DC. She said she was going to be here to help, and FEMA has done a pretty good job registering people and paying out those individual assistance dollars, and I give them an A+ on that. The housing is where they failed, and I said, you eat dinner. They set up a big FEMA man camp in Raceland for their employees. It's about 300 people wraparound dining and laundry services and these individual bunk rooms for these folks that have private bathrooms, queen beds, cable TV, the whole 9 yards. They set that up in a week for 300 people. And we were 80-something days out when she was here. She went there to eat supper, but wouldn't even sleep there with her own employees and experience it for herself. She went back to New Orleans and slept at the Hilton that night. She didn't have to look at the people at Rouse's or Walmart or the IGA when they go to the store and answer those questions. She's up in her ivory tower in D.C., and she just, it's hard to make them understand what it's like to still be sleeping in your car or a gut at home or something like that when she's living it up at the Hilton New Orleans.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if people just, again, you gotta, and you can't even be told about it. You can't see it on TV and think you understand. You got to come and walk right next to Archie Chaisson. You got to come and walk next to Gordy Dove to really see what's happening and the devastation that continues. Like you said, 100+ days, we're still dealing with some severe damage and severe struggles, if you will. You know, there's a lot of people, like you said, that are just starting to talk to their adjuster, you know, and how we're just finally getting, you know, some blue roofs off and we're getting there, but it's a slow process, and we're just really glad you're fighting for us. Listen, my wife and I finally figured out that sometimes you got to be very honest, and yelling at people sometimes is what's got to take place for people to understand what's really happening. And so I'm thankful for that. I am.
No doubt, no doubt.
But all of that simply means that you want to stand up for your people, and your people are some of the most resilient, some of the most hopeful, and we're finding ways to enjoy this holiday season to the best of people's ability. Let's talk about some of the things that have been happening in Lafourche that people have been able to enjoy.
Yeah, you know, Keith, we kicked it off this last weekend with the City of Thibodeau's Christmas parade, rolled from Nichols all the way downtown. I didn't get to make it. My wife had inadvertently scheduled family pictures that day, so we were doing some family stuff. But
okay.
I hear the route was packed.
It was
good to be post hurricane, whatever variant of COVID we're on these days.
Right.
And get people back on the streets and have some fun. Let the kids see Santa as he rolled on the fire truck. They're going to continue that this weekend. There's a smaller Christmas parade happening in the South Lafourche community with Chief Devin Didon in Fire District 3, and I think the folks down in Golden Meadow are doing a parade Saturday afternoon. Then on the 18th, town of Lockport Volunteer Fire Department are going to roll through the streets of Lockport with their annual Christmas parade at 2 o'clock on Saturday. It'll kind of end where it starts, always around Church Street, and then we're going to transition over to the new Lockport Community Center, where Santa will be there waiting on the kids to take pictures, and there's going to be a movie night in the gymnasium with popcorn and treats for the kids. So a lot of fun events happening. Another one that I'm pretty proud of that we're working on along with District Attorney Christine Russell and Sheriff Craig Weber and all of our staffs who are involved in this is kind of a Welcome Home Lafourche program. It's this Sunday at the LaRose Civic Center. We're going to have mental health professionals there. We're helping you work through issues post-storm. You know, we just finished talking about housing and how that affects people, how, you know, maybe not being where you typically are for Christmas is going to affect you and your family. You know, how's Santa going to get in to get those presents to your kids? Santa will be there to take pictures. We'll have fun and games for the kids, kind of a touch a truck event with I think a police car, an ambulance, and a fire truck. All of the LaRose Civic Center is going to be some goodies and some snacks and food for folks. I think from what I was told yesterday, I think Santa might even flip a few hamburgers. So for the kids that come there. So like it'll be a great event. It's something that the sheriff and DA Russell and I met about several weeks ago and really talking about the mental health of our community post-storm. Heidi, who works for DA Russell, really started during the pod program, and she would literally get to a pod site and walk car to car and be like, "Hey, what do you need help with? What are you struggling with?" And do some kind of mini counseling sessions through a car window as people waiting in those pod lines. And we quickly realized, and look, I'm the first to say that mental health is not my forte, not my background, but they've taught me a lot over the last couple of weeks about it. And really think about what our community needs and that aspect of post-storm life. We get so caught up in trying to fix homes, and my role is in government of trying to clear debris and get power back on and work on housing, that you kind of forget about the mental health aspect. And Nicole Bourgeois, who works for us in our community services department, has done a lot of work with our Head Start kiddos in helping them realize how to express their feelings post-storm through classroom time and lessons in our Head Start program. She's also been working with families through our community action department that are coming in for services, whether they be storm related or not. those low-income residents who maybe need some mental health components as well to kind of work through some issues post-storm. So Heidi Nicole, Dr. Carla Beck with the Sheriff's Office does a lot of the reentry work over the jail. So she's been a huge part of this with her background in mental health, trying to help put together from a police social services aspect. Her and Lieutenant Valerie Martinez, who heads up the PSS unit, have been really crucial to this as well, helping work through the community. Those deputies are on the street every day, looking at domestic violence calls, looking at suicides, looking at that sort of thing. So we really put together this program to really welcome Lafourche back home, right? It's 100 days, as we noted in the first segment. Things are getting a little bit better every day as we crisscross Lafourche Parish. So you're really looking at at long term, how's our community going to look? What do people need? That sort of thing. So it's going to be a great event on Sunday. I encourage everybody to come out to the LaRoe Civic Center and take a peek at that event. And if for nothing else, you get to see Santa and get a cookie, right?
Well, and bottom line is the best way that we can help ourselves is to help each other. And that's one of the things I think more often than not, and the difficulty, I've heard this time and time again, it's not just that I don't have any news about what's going on. I can't get anybody to talk to me. If somebody said, look, it's going to be 2 months before we can do anything, well, fine. At least we know something. We got some information. So, Archie, believe it or not, as a mental health professional, I can tell you the value of asking the question, where are you? How are you? What is it that you really need today? That is such a very important and valuable aspect of recovery, because somebody at least just gets to vent a little bit about what their struggles are, and they feel like they've been heard. That's the one big thing. And again, that's what I appreciate about a good leadership like you have, is that you ask people the question, and they can really give the answer. So got about 30 seconds left here. Let's talk about the hope for how we're feeling.
Yeah, and that's been the most frustrating part. I know we've talked about this before, is just as a leader, whether it's housing, whether it's mental health, I only have certain control over so much. So we looked at all these partners, and you're right, asking that question. And sometimes you have to say, hi, I'm the government, I'm here to help.
Right.
And whether that's with housing, whether that's with mental health, whether it's just sitting down having a cup of coffee and asking you how you're feeling. And what comes out of that, I think, is huge. And it's something that we're going to try to work on this weekend through that event.
I love it. I love it. Want to welcome home Lafourche. We appreciate it. We thank you for joining us. Archie, have a great day and a better weekend. We appreciate you.
Good to see you, Keith.
All right. Thank you, Archie. Again, that's Archie Chaisson, Lafourche Parish President. We thank him for his time, his energy, and what he does for people. And that will do it for this particular aspect. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more Bayou Time when we continue.